Now I'd like to introduce our moderator. Many of you know him. He is a former state senator, a former state school superintendent, and always amiable, Vern Duncan. Please give him a big hand.
Thank you, Rob. I said the last time I was asked to do this that I'd be 80 by the next time. They probably would never ask me again. You get too old, afraid you forget things in the middle of it and all of that. I hit 80 last Sunday, and I don't think they realized it all of a sudden. So if I forget something in the middle, you'll understand, won't you? By the way, when you get 80 and there's no money around. And I've been thinking about these high-paying jobs you folks are running for. And I'm a politician. I love this sort of thing. And I get out here this morning, and I get kind of excited about the politics. And I may run a write-in campaign. I'll announce it later. Oh, no, okay. Don't worry, you guys all can beat me, so that's all right. All right, a couple of ground rules. My colleague, Bob over there, will be the timekeeper. And as usual, he has his little sign. You'll get a 1-minute notice, and you'll get a 30-minute notice, a 30-second. It happens. It'll happen to get you someday, folks. All right. And you get a 30-second announcement. And if you go over that 30 seconds, let me tell you, we will drag you off because we're on a tight timeline this morning, so I will hold you tight to it. And we're looking forward to a very pleasant day today. And so we're going to start with the county treasurer. And our first speaker this morning will get 3 minutes. And Sherry Anderson, who is the incumbent. Sherry, would you please come forward? Oh, wait a minute. I get you all up here, quick. Sherry, all of you come up and sit up here, okay?
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Sherry Anderson. I've been your county treasurer for the last 16 years. You may not have ever heard of me before, and that's usually a good thing when it comes to county treasurer business. It means I haven't done anything really bad that's made the paper or got me in trouble with the commissioners. So I just wanted to start by thanking everyone for coming today. I have 3 minutes. I have not been opposed since my first term, which was in 1999 when I opposed the incumbent along with 3 other people, and I have 2 opponents. One of which has made some statements in his voter's pamphlet statement, and he is not here today. I won't have another opportunity to discuss those statements, so I'm going to go ahead and do that today because he's made some statements that are misleading and are exaggerated, and I want to dispel those things. The first is that he says that our investment income is 0.29%. I sent him documents from our portfolio management system that clearly show a total return of 0.48%. I don't know where his 0.29% came from. He's not here to ask, but I want to assure you that that is not an accurate number. I know that sounds low, but I think we all realize that in the last 4 or 5 years, interest rates have been very, very low. Our portfolio is benchmarked against Washington County and Marion County and the state treasurer's office, and we are right there with all of those entities. So within just a few basis points of those entities. So I think we do a good job. He also says that we have our investments. We have a number of investments in banks in the state of Oregon and some regional banks as well. We do that for a couple of reasons. One is for cash flow. The majority of the reason that we invest this money is for cash flow. We need the money in order to pay the bills every week. That money comes in November, we spend it over the course of the year. So we have a lot of liquid cash that we need to keep, and we keep that at various banks. They are not risky. They are all approved by the state treasurer's office. They are beyond FDIC limits because FDIC limits don't apply to government accounts. They apply to personal accounts. Our investments in those banks are all collateralized under the collateral pool maintained by the state of Oregon. So there are no risky banks. There's nothing to fear. The money is 100% collateralized and very safe. I do want to say, the last thing I want to say is that when Mr. Gleason filed to run against me 4 years ago, I have yet to meet him. He has never been in an event. At that time, he said that he was a former CPA in his filing, and that is because he has had 2 disciplinary actions, and he had had his CPA license suspended for 10 years. So I think it's important, it's probably more important to know that about him than for me to spend a lot of time explaining all the great things that we do in the Treasurer's office. But I appreciate your vote. I think I've done a good job, and thank you for your vote. Should I leave or should I stay?
You can leave whichever way you want to.
Leave?
No, either way. Okay. All right. Mahana Best is our next candidate, and this is her first campaign, so she's having lots of fun. Mahana.
Good morning. I am Mihan Best, and I have filed for the position of Clackamas County Treasurer. In 1992, the U.S. government brought my father and my family here from Vietnam as a political refugees. I have been married and have 4 wonderful children. I went to college and earned my associate degree in business administration and bachelor in business information systems. I worked as a computer programmer before until I had my 3rd newborn son. He had medical problem, so I decided to stay home to take care of him. And I have invested in real estate and liquidity. My investment strategy is extraordinary because it's yield high profit and safe return. You and I have seen Washington, D.C. have a department full of experts, certified public accountant, economist, investor, but I don't know. The nation's deficit is rising fast like a rocket. I want to change the way public officials work. Nowadays, private sector workers and business owners, they have to take pay cuts and work more than one job to put food on their table. Public employees work less, few more hours, but pay a lot higher than taxpayers. So public employees are taxpayer servant, not the other way around. And I'm not an expert, but I'm just an average person, but I want to do good things for my county. So if I selected, I will work with Treasurer Office to find the abuse, fraud, or waste to stop it. And I also work with county personnel to find the areas of spending that can be eliminated so we can remove the deficits. And I will take a 20% pay cut until the budget is fixed. And thank you for giving me opportunity to share my thoughts today.
Okay, to ask the county clerk candidates to come up here, please. County clerk. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 candidates, and I believe Barbara Stringham is not here today. Is Barbara here? Okay, she is a candidate but is not here today. At this point, I'd like to introduce our current county clerk, who is Sherry Hall. Sherry.
Thank you, Vern. Good morning. It's really great to be here. I am Sherry Hall, and I first want to thank the Chamber for inviting us. This is a beautiful place to be, and from this view, it's really a pretty view. And Ernie, thank you very much for your really good organizational skills. It was nice to get the questions from you so that I have an idea of what you want to talk about. I'm basically just going to go through the questions on the questionnaire that he sent. The first one is, what is the single most important issue facing the county clerk this next year? And there's nothing really big on the horizon that I can see right now, like there was when I first took the job, which was changing our elections from CHAD ballots to what we have now, which is optical scan. But we are going to continue to keep our focus on accuracy, careful budget management, and excellent customer service. With elections, we're going to be acquiring an automated ballot acceptance system, which is going to really cut down on manpower and time in counting ballots and reconciling the election. In recording, we plan to convert a lot of our microfilm back to the 1800s to digital image, which is a more accessible version for outside and inside customers. And records management, we will continue to manage records today for accessibility tomorrow through the document conversion, preservation, and record storage. Next question, are additional procedures going to be necessary to assure we don't have another incident of ballot manipulation? So first of all, I just want to read my statement on that. In November of 2012, the Elections Office ballot handling protocol successfully interrupted an attempted ballot tampering incident in the act. Ballot tampering was prevented, the election integrity was preserved, and the offender was prosecuted. I'm proud of the system, and the system in place worked precisely as it should have. But after that, I put together a committee of 9 nonpartisan people. We actually had Larry Skidmore, the chair of the party. Anyway, they found that there was nothing that could have been done to prevent that. You can't change a criminal mind in the thought process. But they did find extra protocols that we could put into place, and that report is on my website that you can access. What can be done to purge the registered voter list of persons who have died, moved? This is a daily process that we do through vital records, state death list, Social Security. We monitor obituaries in all the newspapers. Elections mail is never forwarded, and so everything we get back has notes from the post office. We use that to update. Give us some information about your campaign, who your campaign manager, who is your largest contributor. My campaigns have always been really low-key. First time I spent $4,300 and I won the position. And I've never spent that much since. This time I'm at threshold of $3,500, which I filed that form with state elections. I won't go above that in contributions or expenses. If I do, then I have to bring it up to date completely on ORSTAR, but I don't plan to do that. And again, Sherry Hall, vote for me. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to introduce David Robinson, candidate for county clerk. David.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. As said, my name is David Robinson, and I'm running for Clackamas County Clerk. Shortly after high school, as a young man is wont to do, I left home and enlisted in the Marine Corps. My folks at the time thought it was the worst idea in the world, and at some point in the bottom of my gut, I was wondering if they were right. That has actually turned out to be one of the best decisions in my life, because it led to 2 years later going to the Naval Academy, graduating the Naval Academy, being commissioned in the Navy, and has led on to working as an engineer, getting my master's degree in ocean engineering from Oregon State University, allowing me to get my MBA from Willamette University, and work on large organizations across the United States and across the world. Most recently, working on the humanitarian relief in the Philippines a couple years back, putting together the entire plan for humanitarian relief in the Horn of Africa for the United States military. A whole host of opportunities that I would not have had I not made a great decision early on in life and then capitalized on that decision. Those skills that I have acquired across a career in the military and now as an entrepreneur and as a consulting engineer are skills that I'm going to bring to the Clackamas County Clerk's office and fix the problems that we all know have happened in there. Over the past number of years, time after time after time, election after election, there has been problems where the county has had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix the problems, whether it's printing new ballots, printing new voter pamphlet material, recount, dealing with black eyes. That's what has happened. So the most important thing that we need to do, the new county clerk needs to do, is restore public confidence in the integrity of the elections process in Clackamas County and restore public confidence in Clackamas County government that we can handle elections properly. That's my commitment to you. As far as additional procedures, I believe that there are additional procedures that are needed in order to keep this problem from happening again, the ballot manipulation. Exactly what those are, I would like to get into the office and make an idea of what, make a decision on what those are. But I think that we would like to have better transparency. I would like to personally put to video of the ballot counting process on the web so anybody can watch it. The better transparency, the more transparency we have, the more confidence that people will have in the elections process and in the overall management of the office. So that is part of what I want to do and a little bit of my background. Thank you very much. David Robinson for Clackamas County Clerk.
And our next candidate is Mark Meek.
Good morning. I'd like to thank the Chamber for organizing this event today. And also, I'm very happy to see a lot of community leaders here today, business owners, and concerned citizens. I've been asked to describe what qualifies me to run for public office. And if not being 50 years old and getting gray hair, I don't know what does. But this highly contested race, though, will be one of the most important races you have to decide this year. By making an informed and accurate decision, you can bring back integrity and veracity to the county clerk's office. As an active member of this chamber and this community, I stand before you today to let you know that my record speaks for itself, and I will do a great job for you as a county clerk. There are 3 areas in which I'd like to make a positive impact with the county clerk's office. Number 1, background checks. Every temporary employee hired to handle and count your precious ballots must agree to go through a background check. I do this every week with tenant screening. It takes about 2 hours. It's very simple. Number 2, the security plan, which is not available for public review, but I know that it could be executed with a little more integrity and oversight. My experience with security measures will allow me to be the expert in that field. Number 3 is an advisory council. Now, this body will have open communication with the clerk's office, providing much needed feedback and oversight, allowing a little bit more transparency to this office. My active duty experience in the Air Force provided me with valuable experience as a security policeman and as a personnel director. I have experience with records management and enforcement of rules and regulations. A little bit about my campaign. Some of my endorsements include former Mayor of Canby, Melody Thompson, and the Realtors Association. I have a team of community leaders and activists helping me with my campaign, but other than that, it's being self-managed. My largest donation to date is $5,000 from the Realtors Association and $500 from a dear friend, Mr. Lloyd Peterson, resident of Willamette View and former dean of Reed College. One of my favorite motivational quotes is, lead, follow, or get out of the way. I'd like your vote and support to give me the privilege to lead this county clerk's office back to respectability. My name is Mark Meek, and I am your candidate for Clackamas County Clerk. So thank you.
Our next candidate is Linda Neese. Linda.
Good morning, everyone. And again, thank you, Ernie, and the Chamber for inviting all of us and having us here today. A lot of you I know, some of you I don't know. I have been in Clackamas County for 12 years. I own a business, a small business in West Lynn, and I have been there for 7 years. Been very involved in the community and on various boards. My true love settles with National Alliance for the Mentally Ill. I'm a very advocate on that. And I'm also the co-founder of an organization called Seroptimus, and we educate on domestic violence and sex trafficking. I have been involved in the community for a number of years, and, excuse me, and as you can tell, I am not a career politician. So I decided that I wanted to make a difference, and it's time to make our county clerk's office a business and not a government agency. We need to bring back trust, accountability, integrity, and transparency back to the community. And how are we going to do that? With good judgment, sound thinking, and bringing back moral and ethical codes that needs to be done in that office. To expect assurance and make that office more transparent to the community, and to encourage people to come in and vote and know that they can have trust when they come into that office. I ask for your vote, and I hope that you will consider me. Vote for Linda Neese, Clackamas County Clerk.
Okay, we're going to switch now to the county commissioner candidates, and we have position 2 and position 5, and I think we'll have all 5 of them come up at this particular time. Paul Savas, Karen Bowerman, Rick Best for position 2, and Jim Bernard and Stephen Bates for position number 5. And we're going to start with position number 2, and the incumbent in that race is Paul Savas. Paul.
Thank you, Vern. Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Savas. I'm a Clackamas County Commissioner. Been a resident in Oregon for 34 years. I've been living in Clackamas County since 1985, and I ran my business, moved my business from Eugene to Clackamas County back then. I served in elected positions since 2001 at Oak Lodge Water, Oak Lodge Sanitary, and became a commissioner in 2011. My background in business has given me, I think, a unique perspective to serve in government. I think it's been an observation of mine that the business sense that we bring as business owners into government is something that's really needed. I think that common sense approach is so valuable. And to think about, when we talk about money, we talk about the size of our budget, several $100 million of handling of money, and it's budgetary decisions that are being made, how things are handled. And I was asked today, as part of the questionnaire, what's our number one problem that we should be facing? What should we be doing right away? And that was tough to say which one. So first of all, I think the most important thing we need to focus on for the betterment of the county is really our employment land opportunities. We need to create an environment in Clackamas County where we have opportunities and places, actually land and lots, to invite business in here. We really don't have that in Clackamas County in the urban area. We're hoping that things straighten out in Damascus, but we're not sure. That will open up opportunities, but we still need to bring a tremendous amount of infrastructure at a tremendous price. We need to find the most effective way of getting that done. If we talk about jobs, our duty, I think, is to create the environment and bring the infrastructure. We've been locked down in an economic crisis. We've been bogged down in political turmoil, and it's time to pull this back together and move forward. I'm somewhat exhausted of the rhetoric that continues to be out there, but we need to rise above that, I believe, and move this county forward. And that means we need to make smart investments. We need to just move forward. And I have done that. I will continue to do that. I'm asking for your vote, and be looking forward to the questions. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Karen Bowerman. Karen.
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here, and I thank you all for the invitation. I'll start with the questions that you asked that we address, and then I think the rest of it kind of flows from that. First, one of the questions was, who's your campaign manager? So this is a great opportunity to introduce my husband, who is at the back of the room. Would that be the gentleman with a camera, perhaps? And I can tell you that he has really learned a lot about putting out signs in Clackamas County. Another question that was asked is, and who's your main contributor? At this point in time, that would be Andrew Miller, $5,000, and I have a couple of other $1,000 donations that have come from folks who are constituents, I guess you would say, in Lake Oswego, where I serve as city councilor, and they have been pleased with my service there from a fiscally conservative point of view. So when I look at what issues are most important, I, like Mr. Savas, say, oh my, it's hard to get that down to one. So I did get it down to two. How's that? Numbers 1 and 2 in no order: road maintenance and a stagnant economy. I'm going to talk about the latter since that is certainly most applicable to this group. On my card, which I hope you will see on your way out, you will notice that these priorities are listed there and discussed a bit. And the one that is listed on promoting a healthy environment for small and large business is something that we could really talk about all morning, couldn't we? How to go about that. It deals with having positive policies to grow jobs. It deals with efficient and fair permitting, and it deals with improved land use policies. Well, now, why am I running? My background is, I think, a perfect match for dealing with these very issues. I'm a retired dean of business and public administration. I served most recently in the California state system, and my entire job was in bringing a match between the business community and the university and the students and the faculty. And out of that, we were named one of the top 18 most innovative colleges of business in the world. And I was really proud of that because that came at a time of very reduced budgets and an ability, I would say, on the part of leadership, which I had the pleasure of leading, to amass sums of money to be able to do strategic things for the community and the region that really made a difference. So how does one go about this? Let's start by the commissioners really knowing the top 25 employers. You know, it makes me sad that when I look at a list of the region's top employers, there isn't one in Clackamas County. Why not? Let's change that. Let's begin to see some differences there. I think about my old Business Alliance program, and isn't it interesting that that was the very name that it had, much like our own organization here. But that Business Alliance program was designed to bring together people from business to have a common voice with that of the students and the faculty and the politicians that were designed to serve us. And secondly, to serve the very smallest businesses in the area, because that becomes one of the prime sources, as we well know, of jobs for the area. That was the first thing I did when reaching this region, to counsel those businesses for success. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Rick Best. Rick?
All right. Hello, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. After 23 years of successful military career and active, plus did the National Guard and Reserve things here, the service has taught me one thing: lead by example. We do not want to hear what you say, we want to know what you do. So when I tell my troops, don't drink and drive, you don't drink and drive. They look to you. You have to take the moral high ground. I see things in the county, other veterans which I've talked to say, hey, we don't feel our votes being counted. Citizens I hear say the same thing. When they ask me, said, well, you were a leader, what do you say? Well, educate yourself, vote, and you think you can do something, run. Partner stared at me and said, hey, are you going to run? I went, okay, let's see what's available. Toss the coin, running for county commissioner position 2. Whole new world. I wish every person would go out there and try this because it's a learning example. So I've decided to lead by example. 1, I'm not going to take donations. Why? Here's my set budget, here's the standard, that's what I'm going to do, period. I'm not going to do anything. I do not like when I see a city, or even when the state goes, or even the county, if they go, hey, I'm going to give money to this one business and not to everyone else. That's an unequal playing field, and a lot of businesses don't like that. So that'll affect our budget because we're not going to get a lot of companies wanting to come because of that. Then our veterans need help, and then also jobs. There's a lot of programs for the veterans. The biggest thing as a veteran, there's so much out there, we don't know it's all. Yes, there's apps, yes, we can find. The county has improved, moved them to a bigger space. Look at the county website, here's the basic stuff, which is great. There's organizations doing stuff for us that we don't know. I got approached by one, hey, this Easter we're doing baskets, do you know about that? No. So I tell other veterans, this group's doing this here. Here's a point of contact. So by doing it that way, it would quite work. And since everybody's super busy, I'm going to really end it, well, not end it here, but I might as well end it here because I'm starting to get tongue-tied. And thank you.
Okay, Jim Bernard is our next candidate to speak.
Well, thank you, and since I know most of you, I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. I'm Jim Bernard. I'm the 3rd generation owner of a small business in downtown Milwaukee that my grandfather started in 1925. And you know, we've survived a lot, and in the county, we've survived a lot. You know, we just experienced the worst downturn in any of you will ever remember, and probably worse than the Depression, and we survived. Actually, the Clackamas County Commission, Clackamas County, thrived. You know, Sherry Anderson, she does not do the budget. She has a budget, and it's a tiny budget. We deal with hundreds of millions of dollars. And I'm proud to say that I have personally brought hundreds of millions of dollars into transportation that has made Clackamas County a better place. Public safety has been my focus. One of the things we do every so many years is we survey what people think is the most important thing. Public safety, until this year, was always number 1. Number 1 to this year is jobs, number 2 is transportation, and number 3 is public safety. I have, so one of the most important things about jobs is transportation, so you can kind of tie those together. And that's connecting our rural communities, that's connecting Damascus someday with the Sunrise Project, which we brought in through hard work. Clackamas County has brought in opportunities for our industrial sites by opening up some of the zoning, and so that will provide opportunities. BTOP, which we spread a circle around Clackamas County, will open up opportunities for small businesses, home businesses. But one of the things I learned from my father is to always watch the money. So I started the first audit committee, and I've been the chair of that committee ever since. And we have done some amazing things. And we're going to do some amazing things thanks to Sherry Anderson's ideas, that audit committee ideas on how to make the county even better than it was. But it's not about misspending money. It's about how you record that money, how you follow that money. That's what the audit does. We have done a tremendous job. So transportation and jobs. We're going to be working with the citizens of Clackamas County to figure out how are we going to pay for jobs. Frankly, for transportation, frankly, we can no longer depend on the federal government for that money. So we need to talk to you. Have I decided what system's going to work best for me? No, I haven't. I'm waiting for you guys to tell me. And then we'll reach out and educate folks about how we can do that. So I've spent most of my time in Salem, in Washington, D.C., building relationships. And one of the sad parts about today's board is that we've destroyed a lot of those relationships, and we need to rebuild them. As mayor of Milwaukee, where I served for 8 years, we had fantastic relationships, and we can do that again. And my job as a county commissioner will be to rebuild those relationships. So I hope you will vote for Jim Bernard. Check me out at votejimBernard.com, and I appreciate the chamber providing this opportunity. Thank you.
All right, Stephen Bates, candidate for position number 5.
Thank you. I'd like to say good morning to you all. I've got 4 minutes for all of us to get to know each other, and I'm wondering if that's what speed dating is like. I live in Boring. I've lived there for 37 years. But during those 37 years, I traveled extensively for my business. But here on the home front, during the time that we were developing our business, we actually were confronted with problems with Clackamas County. We wanted to expand our business, and in doing so, we were looking at buying property. We actually went before the county commission to try to get zoning changes so that we could actually build a building and employ people in what is now known as Damascus, but it was actually Boring then. We were turned down because of the zoning laws. 10 years later, we actually bought a piece of property in Clackamas. We had the ability to get financing for a nice building, which was going to employ 20 additional people. We were this far from the building permit. And getting that building permit was just about there, and we were all relieved. The bank was ready to go, and then the county said, oh, it's January the 10th, and January the 1st, this new rule came to effect. And this new rule says that you have to tell us what you're going to do with all the surface water. I had to pay $5,000 for a study, and this gentleman did the study and provided us with a plan, which we took to the county, and we also took to our architect and our building contractor. They assessed the fact that that was going to cost an extra $100,000. As a result, the bank said, we have to withdraw the financing. That was because Clackamas County has one of the strictest standards for surface water of any of the 3 counties in the metro area. This is not a business-friendly county. One of the first or most important things, and that was one of the questions that you wanted answered, is what is the most important thing that we should address as a county commission? Number 1, first and foremost, is to make this county business-friendly. Take, for example, what Clark County has done. Clark County actually audited all of their business regulations. They actually reduced regulation on business. They reduced fees on business. And what has happened? Within the first year, they actually have a better employment of over 300 more jobs within the county within 6 months. And they also had an influx of over 100 different businesses that came in because of the lower fees. Why can't we do that here in Clackamas County? Why haven't we done it? Because everybody is entrenched in worrying about other stuff other than making sure that we have a business-friendly county that's going to create jobs. And that is primarily what I'm here for, is to make sure that Clackamas County becomes business-friendly. I've traveled around the United States. I dealt with federal, state, and local governments all through the United States. And I saw governance at its worst, and I saw it at its best. I can look at things and identify problems. And one of the root problems that we have is the fact that we do not have the autonomy we need as a county. We do not have the autonomy to be able to say, you know what, the zoning's wrong for that area. We need to change the zoning to make sure that we can employ people. In the Boring area, we have businesses that can't expand because they're landlocked because of zoning. They want to hire more people. They want to expand their business, but they can't. Their only alternative is to leave the county. And that has happened before, and it will happen again unless we go to the state legislature and seek legislative relief for zoning issues. And with that, I have to stop. Thank you very much.
Okay, keep the questions coming. Okay, I'll ask each one of you to respond to this. Your thoughts on the recent op-ed piece by Chairman of the County Board, Mr. Ludlow, endorsing the Bowerman, endorsing Bowerman and Bates. Oh.
I would be happy to.
Okay, Jim, we'll start with you.
You know, it's amazing. The chair and myself and the rest of the commission actually works quite well together. And if you ask the chair, he will tell you that almost always we vote unanimously. So I'm a little bit confused why, why the sign, for example, would say dysfunctional. Because actually we have been very dysfunctional. The only dysfunctional part is the rhetoric that occurs sometimes. And one of the biggest problems, I think, is that we tend to label one another. And I think that's one of the things we need to fix. You know, frankly, relationships have been destroyed outside of the BCC, the Board of County Commissioners. We need to rebuild those. And until we fix what happens between us, which the board will tell you doesn't really happen, the chair will tell you doesn't really happen, we will have a tough time rebuilding our relationships outside of the county.
Okay, Rick, why don't you answer the question then?
The question again?
We want to know about the county chair has endorsed two candidates. Reaction of.
I definitely feel the county chair is entitled to their opinion. He probably has his reasons. I really don't care about his opinion as long as they're doing the job for the county. Because the election's coming up and it ends up being that the voters of the county will decide who will get what job. And that's really about it.
That's a tough question for me to answer, I must tell you. I must say a couple of things. Number one is, this is the first time that I've been asked. It's very interesting that a lot of people in the community have been asked about that, but the newspapers had never asked me. The second thing is that I've noticed in the rhetoric that has gone after this endorsement that it does not focus on substance. It is entirely ad hominem attacks, and particularly against John. I think that's unfortunate because what that does is to remove the dialogue from the issues, and it is totally on the issues where the dialogue should be. Let's just forget yaying to each other about each other, and that is what I have seen in the newspaper, and I think it should stop. There were a number of issues that were raised in John's letter, and I believe those are the things that should be answered.
Paul.
Well, what can I say? As I said, it was sandbox politics, and I thought that it was one thing to make the endorsement. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. It was really about how. And my 12, 13 years in elected roles, I've never experienced anything like this. I have got along very well with my colleagues. I have that background. We have done constructive things. Even in my first 2 years, you didn't hear what you hear today. And I'm not here to point any fingers, but frankly, I just thought it was out of line. That's the kind of stuff that we just shouldn't be doing. We have real problems to solve in Clackamas County. We just need to get past this, and it's been a very tough 13, 14 months for me. I got to say it's one of the toughest periods of my life because I care deeply and passionately about the problems we face in Clackamas County. I love this county.
Okay, Stephen?
It is a rather interesting question because I am a beneficiary of Mr. Ludlow's endorsement. But I must say that his endorsement and the endorsement letter was based upon fact and experience. The gentleman sitting next to me sent out a fundraising letter that contained lies and innuendo against Mr. Ludlow and myself. That is not right. Using truth, fact, and experience is okay, but not lies and innuendo.
All right, I think we're ready to move to another question. Are we to expect a transportation fee soon? Vehicle registration fee, gas tax, or something like that? Rick, why don't you start with that one?
All three of those will have a negative effect on the county. You raise the gas prices, the gas tax 3 cents. People will go out of the county to get fuel. That'll affect businesses. Everything does. And plus, when the voters see that this coming November, the choice is which tax, and not a fourth one saying, no, we have to look at our budget and start fixing it. And that's about it.
Okay. Jim?
I don't know that November's a date that we're looking at, and so we're studying various ones. Clackamas County Coordination Committee, which makes up mayors, CPOs, hamlets, and villages, is actually looking at a number of alternatives, and that group has decided on a couple of them. The chair wants to look at a utility fee, which might be $8 to $10 to fill that gap on a monthly basis. And that's something that we're going to look to the citizens to tell us if they will accept. We're not about to propose anything that won't be accepted by the citizens, at least we would hope. So we're studying that, and I'm kind of on the side of the group that's worked years on this, and we're going to support what that group wants to do, if that's feasible.
Okay. Stephen?
The options that have been suggested aren't necessarily the best. The root problem is the fact that there is a state law that prohibits the use of general fund money for road maintenance. My suggestion is that we go to Salem and change the law so that we can go ahead and use general fund money to fix the roads if necessary. Using alternative funding methods down the road with the vote of the people is something that I would definitely consider besides. But initially, we need to get the law changed so we can do what Washington County does. Thank you very much.
Paul?
Well, I've been working on this since 2011, and I see Mayor DeReamer here, who's been the co-chair of C4, along with myself, co-chair, to really identify the road funding challenges in Clackamas County, both from a new road capital standpoint and from a maintenance standpoint. We have really come together. Those meetings have increased in activity, they have increased in attendance. And as Commissioner Bernard expressed, I too really want to follow the guidance of that group, which I again am aligned with. So we have been looking at 4 mechanisms, and you have to look at the equity thing. What relationship does property tax have to do, or property ownership or property valuation have to do with roads? So we look at gas tax, that's somewhat equitable. You look at utility fees, that's got some equity. We looked at a property tax levy similar to what Washington County had done. And fourthly, a vehicle registration fee. So we have to find a way that's equitable. I'm out of time.
Okay, Karen.
We're in the midst of a federal, state, and county and city crisis in this regard. At the federal level, we're $30 billion short annually on road maintenance money. That would amount to a 17 cents per gallon increase. Add to that increases at the other levels for gas tax, And wow, it would really be incredibly impactful, negatively so, on business and our private budgets. So let's look for other alternatives. If we look at property tax, why is it that only Washington County can use property tax now? Let's go to Salem, like Steve said. Gas tax, have you looked at their budget? Wow, it is not going for road maintenance. There's a lot of light rail in there. There are a lot of ways to look at how could that money be better spent. And that's the bottom line. How can we spend existing taxes better than we are right now?
Here's a question. What role should the county play in the redevelopment of the Blue Heron site, the Blue Heron site? Let me see. Karen, let's start with you.
I think a supportive role. There are some very good opportunities out there for increasing tourism and the subsidiary kinds of businesses that would flow from that. A great opportunity. I think the county should be in a supportive role. That property is owned by people with creative views. The county has taken a good role relative to the trails that will go in that area, and all of that can make for a real showplace in this county, and that's a good thing.
Paul.
Well, the initial numbers coming back recently as just to get access to the river, public access to the river, being somewhere between $30 and $60 million. I support the redevelopment of that site. The Clackamas County has been playing a role. We've been putting in $100,000 per year and trying to move that forward. But we have really premised that on that we want to see some restoration of the jobs that were lost. We want to see some private development there. It's not all about the public elements, but we really think, we're waiting to see, really frankly, a means, pro forma of a model that we think that will survive economically, that will be viable. And right now, as we heard from, because Metro's also playing a role in this, that they don't really think that there is an opportunity to have something that will be in the black, that it will actually make money or will be successful. And I'm not going to give up on that. I'm not going to take that and resign myself to the fact that it can't be done. It must be done. That is a valuable, incredible site, and I think must be a way to capitalize on the opportunities there, both from a private sector standpoint and again, the national treasure that I really think it is.
Stephen.
Well, first of all, we have to understand that the jurisdiction, the majority of that property is within the city limits of Oregon City. It's basically something the county can't really do anything with unless we're asked to help. A supportive role is all that we can do, and of course, using our economic and development department to assist in rebuilding the area is probably the best thing that the county can do.
Rick.
Pretty much agree that a supportive role for Oregon City. There is a way which they can do it and have the public really involved. Taking from example from a memorial which they did over Washington, D.C. for the veterans, they opened it up for the public and said, hey, here's what we would like. Somebody come up with a design and we'll let the public vote on what they would want. You do that with Oregon City, you'll get a really good plan from a lot of smart people out there. There's probably a lot of college students that could come up with brilliant ideas to do. And then you can put that to the people, say, this is what we can do, this is what we can gain, and enjoy your day.
Jim.
Actually, probably in May, we're going to be playing much more than a supportive role. We may own it. It's a very complicated project, and back taxes, the person in charge of it right now is considering walking away at the end of May. So we may be playing a greater role than just being supportive. We'll really have to work hard then, because that is a challenging place. We'll have to build relationships. We'll have to secure funds from state, federal, local government agencies. And we're going to have those relationships to do that. So we will be playing a supportive role, but my guess is the end of May, we're going to own it.
As a commissioner, whether you are now or will you be advocating for the inclusion of the Stafford-Borland area into the urban growth boundary this next cycle? Jim, start with you.
Yes. Stafford Borland is a very complicated area, but there is a piece of it, Borland, that has a whole lot of opportunity. Much similar to Cruz Way. Cruz Way is one of our largest, is Clackamas County's largest economic driver. So we have an opportunity, thanks to the grand bargain that occurred in Washington County, to get our fair share. And Borland is one of those areas that we're interested in. The community has been working for years on a plan, and very little opposition has occurred over the Borland area. So I think in the grand bargain scheme, we're going to be focusing on creating something similar to Cruz Way at Borland.
Paul.
Yes, I do support that. Matter of fact, I've been in constant communication with a number of the folks out there that want to do something with that area. And really, we are really faced with something that's related to growth. We live in a naturally beautiful area that we value immensely. At the same token, we're growing, and we don't really want to pave over some of our natural assets and some of that beauty. So how we grow and how we strike that balance is incredibly important, and that's what they're battling with internally over there. Some of those folks want to preserve some of the natural areas that are great, and some people see opportunities to transfer some of those densities and opportunities to make that work. So balancing that all with 10 different really neighborhoods or communities that's been divided up into and allowing them to reach their aspirations is very challenging, because the current metro regulations, the way it works, does not allow for that type of flexibility. So I've been advocating for more flexibility from Metro to help resolve those issues so we can really continue to grow in Clackamas County without destroying our natural environment.
Rick.
For that area this time, from what I've seen, I have some questions to ask, and the people in the area will have to really decide what they want. And supporting area around that, it's who's going to take care of the roads. So from what I've seen, you got a really nice traffic circle that's a mess. That's going to cost to get fixed. And who's going to take care of the service to install water, sewer, and all this? And what part or how are we going to break up that area for each little how's it going to get broken down? And then if it does, who's going to support it and who's paying for it?
Stephen.
I am in favor of bringing the Stafford-Borland area into the urban growth boundary. However, I do have reservations about Metro Title 11, which is probably going to be part of the problem. And we need to go to Salem in order to get legislation to get Title 11 changed. Basically, Metro takes the position that Title 11 is restating state law. Well, actually, it's restating it, and it's adding a lot more regulation. So we need to go to the legislature and seek relief so that we can do with the Stafford-Borland area to meet the needs of the neighborhoods there.
Karen.
The answer to the question, yes. I think this is an area that has revealed where what I call the dysfunctionality of the current relationships on the commission has worked to the county's disadvantage. There really needs to be a coherent, singular communication that goes to Salem, because if we do not have that, we will not end up with the flexibility and land use that we need in the county. Stafford has a lot of potential for a lot of diversity. There is an area that could be, like you were mentioning, in the Borland area, that would be very different than right around the Lesher Farm area. But those differences require a cohesive plan with an agreement of the parties that come together for that plan. And no such plan exists now. That really needs to be generated from within. And we see a number of parties talking about it, but not talking together. Let's get there.
Okay. Yeah, I got you all in. By the way, I love the confidence we have in the great state legislative assembly. All right. I think here's kind of a... Jim, I have a couple of questions for you here, but I'm going to do this one, see if we have time. We may come back to those. Multnomah and Washington counties have recovered jobs lost during the Great Recession. Clackamas County has not. Why is that? It's been answered to some extent, but I'll give you all one. Just take a quick answer. I'm going to go right down the row. Paul?
Well, with the recent numbers, we heard from Lynn Wallace with the Oregon Department of Employment was that we just recently here, the last number of another 1,300 jobs. So we moved from, I think, that lower number of 44% upward. That's my assumption. I've been in actually communication with her this week about that. So getting back to my earlier comments when I first spoke, it's really about creating a positive environment and place to land. When you have a company that says, by virtue of our success, we want to grow and we want to expand Clackamas County, what do you have? Right. And we don't have the answer to that question. And I think that's important that we solve our land availability crisis, our employment land crisis, and get that underway. And I think that's how we're going to grow back our employment lands. And also the comments we have validity with regards to our planning, development, and zoning to make it a more business-friendly environment. That's an absolute. We have been working on that. We have made progress.
Rick?
We need to reduce all the regulations that the companies are faced. We have to be more business friendly. Other states have done this. They've been very effective in able to spin their economies around to turn from a deficit to a surplus, increase jobs. When you go into their office, they will, what can we do to help you? And the business owner knows that what they get, every other business will get the exact same.
Karen?
Businesses need certainty. They need certainty not just in taxation, but also in direct fees. And we don't have that now. We don't have certainty as it relates to land use either. And that uncertainty creates real issues for business that is interested in locating here. And then give them a permitting process that is hurdles that are slow, and it exacerbates the problem even more. Not only is our unemployment rate going down, but what seems intuitive would then be that the number of people in the jobs market and working would be going up, but that is not the case. That number is going down too. So those two numbers together tell us some very disappointing things about jobs in Clackamas County and how much harder we need to really work together at jobs growth. There just needs to be so much better communication to get around this stagnant economy.
Jim?
Well, actually, Clackamas County, since I took office, has gained 3.9% more jobs. And unemployment has dropped 3.6% from when I took office. And this was a tough economy. I'd say Clackamas County's biggest problem is transportation access, and we need to provide greater access. As far as opening up industrial areas for other opportunities, we started this process about a year and a half ago, going through codes. We're now looking at commercial codes to open up greater opportunities. And in some of those cases, we've changed zoning to open up those opportunities. So we're working hard to do that, but we're not flat. Precision cast parts is one of the I'm trying to think of what do you call it, Fortune 500 companies in the country, and it's in Clackamas County, and they're growing jobs.
Stephen?
40% of the jobs lost during the recession in Clackamas County are still lost. Why? Because the previous commissions set forth some policies that made business-friendly swear words. We're not business-friendly, and that's what I alluded to earlier. But let's understand this. We're talking about 40% of the jobs that were here are gone. That has nothing to do with land use. Those jobs were already here. So what have we done to scare away those businesses that were employing people? What have we done? We have not been business-friendly. Thank you.
A quick question, and if you could kind of cut this to 30 seconds if you could, because I'm really watching this time. Why have so many Clackamas County property owners, why have they had to annex to Happy Valley so that their businesses of 20 to 40 years can stay in business? And Steve, we'll start with you and come right back up this way.
Well, I do not believe that that has actually happened as yet. That is a result of a House, or I believe it was a House bill, which apparently the city of Damascus is going to file suit against. So I honestly believe that that's not happening.
Okay, Jim?
Well, I'm sure we can depend on Salem to solve the problem. But,
Oh, I love it.
but you know, frankly, Damascus
Glad I'm not
is
there.
dysfunctional. It is dysfunctional. And people are anxious to go to a community that is functional, and that's Happy Valley.
Karen?
I see the Happy Valley people nodding.
I heard that Karen
Damascus
was-
needs a good comprehensive plan. That is something that we've known for a long time. They certainly have their challenges in getting there, but I think that is an essential first step for them.
I've heard that Canby is really worried about Happy Valley. Rick?
Happy Valley is a really great place. I really love where I live. Damascus, they've had a lot for 10 years to come up with a plan. Question is, who's not holding their feet to the fire and say, you've had 10 years, get it done. What have you not done? And here's your timeline, and make it happen. Enough of this dawdling around and doing this, playing the politics game. You got to serve your people, get it done.
Paul?
Well, I did speak to that earlier as well, and I think it's incredibly important that we really recognize what and who's really kind of behind, and really some of the theories, if you want to call it that, or politics that are behind what's going on in Damascus, which has led to the dysfunction out there that is just really inhibiting our ability to solve our problems. We were gifted that 13,000 acres to grow Clackamas County, and it's locked. It's been locked down in dysfunction. So I'm going to go right back to we need to just look to the stable governments and the stable leaders in this county to get it done.
Okay. We're not going to get to some of these other questions, and one of them deals with the Damascus District Corporation, what happens, and maybe you might want to comment in the end. I'm going to give each of you 2 minutes now to wind it up. Let me see, trying to be fair about all of this. Rick?
Well, in closing, there's a lot of knowledge base here, a lot of mentorship that can be done for our youth. We do that in the service all the time. We're mentoring our young troops, our youth. Knowledge base here to my left and right. If they could just spend a few minutes, 30 minutes out of the year going to, let's say, a school and say, this is what you can do, but it takes work. And this is how it will domino effect. Once you inspire them, it'll go. We've got to set the example. You got to, it's the hardest thing in the world to do is to do the right thing when everybody wants to do the wrong thing. That's basically what you have to do. I'm really don't want to say I'm very thankful for this opportunity to speak. It's been a real learning curve and a lot of difference, and that we got to work past and get to the common thing, because once you start the ball rolling, you do the right thing, start working for the community, put the community first before yourself. I'm always used to doing that, putting other people before me all the time. It's hard to break out of that. And it's for one things that my kids did and me. We helped it's a private school install a new playground. It saved them $30,000, which they didn't have to pay for a lot of good volunteers. And a lot of knowledge base was in it. So now when my kids who go to the school go play on that equipment, they say, hey, our parents did this. They tend to take care of things. We've got to take more ownership in what we do and say, hey, it's time to get the things going and put the community first before ourselves. All right, thank you.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to go to Jim Bernard.
First off, I want to address the letter full of lies. There was actually only one mistake in it, and that was identifying the Koch brothers as having funded the previous election cycle. The rest of it is absolutely true. Follow the money. Like I said, my father taught me to follow the money. Evidently, my glasses were a little fogged when I got to who paid that money. But the Transformation PAC funded those programs. One of the most important, you asked who my greatest funders were. Well, they're the employees at Clackamas County and the hardworking people all over the state. Law enforcement is my biggest contributor, the Clackamas County Police Officers Association, home builders and business leaders across the state. Another question that was asked was, do you think that the employees should go to a 5-day work week? If you'll tell me why, I'll support it. But so far, it has reduced overtime, energy use, child care costs, and it is a competitive draw to outside people looking for a place to work in Clackamas County. Our pay isn't as high, but the draw is I got Fridays off. We fixed a few problems, and that's what the whole idea was, to make sure that people who needed service on Friday got that service, and we opened up those departments. We have been working very hard. Our budget is tremendous. We were almost $1 billion company. We're creeping back up, and it is a company in many ways, because we have to be there to provide services that nobody else does. Mental health, domestic abuse, all those programs that nobody else, family justice, veteran services, and thank you, vote Jim Bernard. Thank you.
Steve.
Lies and innuendo. He brought it up. He said in his letter that I'm anti-government. Why am I running for a government position if I'm anti-government? He said I'm anti-responsible development. Steve Bates is on record supporting property rights as protected under the United States and Oregon state constitutions. He has never purposed any effort to avoid responsible development. He says I'm anti-transit. Steve Bates is on record calling for a transit study which may lead to the formation of a Clackamas County Transit Authority. This is authenticated with the January 7th, 2014 press release. Bates is quoted as saying, with a county-wide program, buses can be provided where they are needed and wanted, and the subsequent service known as Dial-A-Ride in several communities can be expanded and provided countywide. The Dial-A-Ride concept will give our seniors and the handicapped more flexibility and will assure safe transportation to and from the doctor's office or to the grocery store. Honor and integrity, lies and innuendo don't go together. Progress doesn't happen by itself. Progress will never come for Clackamas County as long as commissioners stand in the shadow of Portland decision makers. My opponent has committed to this approach, even when voters have said no. His approach has stagnated our county. We are the last in the region for jobs recovered and weekly wages on his watch. Our county is unique and full of potential for jobs and new businesses, and if you want to experience true prosperity, you need to vote for Steve Bates. Thank you very much.
Karen.
It's hard, excuse me, it's hard to summarize in just a couple of minutes. But I would like to share with Rick Best that I too have learned a lot. Never before have I spent a morning in county jail, or gone on ride-alongs on 82nd, or gone to the community corrections program, and I've learned so much, so many wonderful things about this county and the services that are provided by the county for its citizens. But there are a couple of areas of the support for business where I would encourage you to look for the candidate, Karen Bowerman, who says that she's pro-business and votes that way too. I think back to February 23rd of 2012, and there was a resolution regarding the Clackamas investment strategy. And in that, there were some very measurable things for business and for government. For example, a program to assure that by 2015, Clackamas County will provide the community with a development approval process that is the fastest in the region. I like those kinds of measurable things. But in the vote, and it was passed 3-2, Mr. Savas was one of the two who voted against it. Why? Because he said he wasn't fully prepared. because all of the framework planning had not been done. Why are we pushing it, he said. That ought to be comprehensive, and I'm struggling with that. It's not comprehensive. Well, you know, things are never really fully comprehensive, fully complete, and a well-rounded package. We have to make progress step by step, or we're not going to be seeing those measurables achieved and the stagnation that we see of the lack of jobs growth to the extent that it could be from recovery from the recession occurring in Clackamas County. I wrote an article that is in this issue of Northwest Connection on why unemployment data don't tell the story. Please read it. Thank you.
Well, as I mentioned, we just got to get past the half-truths and misinformation and get on with moving the county forward. Since I've been elected in 2001, I've done nothing but solve problems. I solved the financial crisis at Oak Lodge Water. I solved a long-standing dispute over about $40 million of water rights in Clackamas County, with Oak Lodge Water and the Sunrise Water Authority. At Oak Lodge Sanitary, we had the clear water wastewater debacle, I can stand here today and tell you that it was the right decision with Oak Lodge to go it alone at that time and rebuild our treatment plant and reduce, and that project alone, I reduced the cost by over $20 million and reduced the financing cost by another $20 million. I solved, as a county commissioner, I solved the long-standing dispute, 25-year dispute with all kinds of elected officials and people between Milwaukee and Clackamas County. I solved that. I'm a problem solver. There's a lot of problems in Clackamas County. You've made an investment in me by electing me. I've learned a lot. I knew a lot going in. I know a lot more today, and I'm prepared to continue to hard work to fix and solve the problems in Clackamas County. With regard to meeting preparation and organizing, I've been battling away for a strategic plan in Clackamas County since I've been there. We claim we have a strategic plan that is not strategic, nor is it a plan, but we're finally making progress. It is unfortunate that if you're going to, prepare for a meeting and be in a meeting to get the work done of the people of this county, that you are prepared, it's concise, and it's clear. It's not about posturing. It's about doing good work and setting good policy. If the policy is not prepared and it's not correct, and supporting it will not get you down the road you want to go, then you know what? We can do better. And just because you vote no doesn't mean that you can't fix it, or you can't say, hopefully, maybe the votes will go 3 or 2-3, and maybe it would be a negative vote, and you can fix it and come back and say, you know what? We can find middle ground to make it better. Voting no doesn't mean that you don't support it. It means you want to improve it.
Thank you very much. Let's give our county commissioner candidates.